Welcome back to another Bitcoin video. I struggled to do these videos lately because these patterns are getting a bit weird. They are. They're getting freaking weird. So, giving it my best shot here, it's sometimes difficult to not compare waves in the way they look and the way they feel when I look at them. Based on my knowledge and experience, to not sometimes compare them to something that's happened before, but it's probably not the same thing. It's like a freaking illusion or something, right? I know that can happen. It's happened before. You got to take a step back and chill. You do, because trading will ruffle your feathers, to say the least, right? For example, there's a particular move that I'm talking about here. This price action that we saw right here, right, is very similar to the price action we saw right here, right? And I have a very photographic memory. Something clicked in the moment, and it took me back to this point in time when I was shorting this like an idiot. But the problem was that I was going to sleep. I was exhausted. And what started to happen was we started to get a little, because I thought, okay, we're going to go down. I saw like a one, an A, B, C, D, E. I thought it was that, it looks like that. And it completely, like, I fell asleep. Next thing you know, I wake up and this move happened out of this tiny little range. This was back when I did the AVAX idea. If we break this low, we go lower. Instead, it went higher above and it did this. It was like, oh man, when you're exhausted, you can't do shit in the markets. You can't do anything. You might as well pull the plug, go to sleep. I've learned that lesson. I've been learning it more and more lately since getting back into trading again. Become better at the waves, but then the better you become, the more they suck you in. For me, my biggest hurdle is trying to maintain that work life balance, right? That balance that keeps you sane, that balance that helps you get proper sleep, that balance that really just keeps you in the game making good decisions, right? And when something sucks your attention so bad, yeah, it's time to be careful. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm in being careful mode. This weekend, I'm going to rethink my strategy and develop a new one, which I think I know what it's going to entail. But the point is that this pattern looks basically exactly the same. So in my mind last night, getting tired and that, I started to see something similar. We broke this low, we saw a bounce. I'm like, wait a minute. I looked at this first move. We broke a previous low, we bounced up sharp, right? You go back to this move back here, right? Same thing happened. We broke a low, we bounced back sharp. It's same wave. And then you have this move that looks almost identical, right? Oops. Right? It looks almost identical on the way down, just a larger version. So I'm like, it broke down again and then it bounced. I'm like, I took a long position and went to sleep. I was that exhausted. I go, I've seen this before, took a long position, went to sleep. Right. The next day I woke up and it's like, well, hang on a minute. It looks like it's doing it. And then we saw this move down. I go, that did not happen in the last move. Sorry. I waited for a bounce as they usually do. I was just left a little bit struck out. I'm like, just leave it for now. Maybe it'll bounce. And then I'm like, this looks even weirder, like even worse now. So I just took the profit because it was actually not a bad profit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to step away and just wait it out, because you could start to see things that repeat. And yeah, you can have a count for it, but I had the count for the last one too in a bearish way, and it got me. So I started thinking about this particular wave, and I thought, hang on a minute, did this wave really end up here, or did it have a 4-5 that continued? And the reason why I think this might be the case is because we had what looked like a zigzag bounce followed by that decline. Now back here, that didn't happen, right? Back here, we broke out, we went straight up. That's why I put a comment on the post saying, um, it's not doing what I expected. I advise caution, right? Now, was this a fluke trade? Maybe, uh, probably, but as soon as you realize that or even consider that, you take the profits, because you don't want to be the one of those people who get lucky and think they're good. Shit, that's the worst thing that can happen. The next time you'll make a mistake that'll cost you more than you think, right? So be careful with that with trading. But the reason why I think that there's something weird going on here is because I considered this a zigzag for the CDE idea. So if I can consider that a zigzag for a CDE idea, what's wrong with considering this whole thing a zigzag followed by another zigzag followed by a C wave, potentially a D wave? Okay, go back and look at the subdivisions of the previous move. As weird as it sounds, kind of makes sense because we had basically no correction down here. It was almost like a straight up bounce. So we needed to correct something. These type of moves don't just happen all the time. They have some kind of they have some kind of repercussion, right? It's like Newton's law for every uh, for every object in motion, there is an equal and opposite reaction, or something like that, right? I believe that's true, especially in the markets, because they oscillate between feeding greed and fear and mean reversion, right? Fine, but internally, I think there's an A, B, C, D, E here, and this was maybe wave three, and then we had a really large wave four for wave A, like an A, B, C, D, E, A, and then this move lasted that length of time. And then we had a new separate correction, which may be a shorter correction uh, due to some kind of alternation, right? Now, people just typically think of alternation as being something that is used just between waves two and four, but I think that there's also an alternation that occurs between the corrective pattern and the previous wave four that can sort of determine whether or not it will be prolonged. But there's also something else, right? And I'll get back to this in a second. I just want to show you this. Go to the 1 hour, I think it is, right? Look at the pic. Look at the Look at the move up since the beginning, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 in progress, right? So you're getting some alternation, not so much alternation, but more like some kind of symmetry in the move, right? You've got this sideways price action. How could you go all the way up and not have some more sideways price action? Right? It just doesn't look right. It looks kind of skewed, right? Now, the thing I find interesting is that the alternation doesn't necessarily have to occur in wave four. It can occur in expanded corrective waves, like, for example, this part of a wave D, which is not even the B wave of a wave D that's expanding or taking longer. Could even be the fourth wave of you know the wave A, because even if okay, for those who don't know the waves, even if this was a wave four, well, where's the wave five? This is the length of wave five one. we need a wave 5, for example, right? Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. But that's not exactly what we're looking at here, right? I think it's a bit deceptive to just assume that it's all about symmetry and alternation. It's actually about the internal count, and not necessarily about, oh, if this part is correcting to the side like this, it must be a wave 4. No, it's not, right? It's just that wave 4 is expanding, I suppose, like wave 2 went to the side, wave 4 might expand to the upside. Big deal. Okay, so what do we do from here? Well, we look at closely at what we're looking at now and be careful with the whole idea that, waves look the same all the time. Now, this has started to move up, and I'm not really going to jump at this. Like, in fact, I want it to just make one more high, and I'll explain to you why in a sec. I want this to make one more high and come back down, right? I'd like to see that, to then think about what I would look for in a trade, a proper entry for this trade, right? Okay, so let's go back to idea of basically thinking this is wave A up here, right? Let's just say, for example, that we have a wave. Oh, hang on a minute. So wave A in brackets, so the first part of a zigzag, right? That's what I mean by that. So let's just say this is a wave A. Sorry, wave A down here. Zigzag. This is one like A, B, C type thing. And by the way, this might be just a 5-wave move. Like if you look at this, you had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You couldn't had an A, B, C, D, E. That actually fits beautifully, right? So like an A, B, C, D, E. So basically to there, like that. That fits beautifully. You have one, two, three, four, five. That's great. Okay. Is it starting to move even more? Not really. See, don't jump when something looks like it's spiking up. Don't just jump. Oh yeah, let's do it. Oh shit, it's coming back. Have a plan, right? I do that sometimes when I'm acting crazy, right? But then it kind of like I start to look at the pattern. I'm like, oh shit, that's not right. You made some money, take it off, man. Keep that shit. Take some out. Go buy a pizza or something. Like do something with it. Just say I got lucky with this one, right? Don't say, oh yeah, I'm a good trader now. I'm amazing. Sometimes you get lucky, yeah. You get some money at the market, big deal. Doesn't mean you're good. So now I think potentially, right now, these are all just potentials. Don't get me wrong here, thinking I'm top shit, top gun. I'm not. Right? I'm still trying to master the art of balance. That's hard, right? So you've got an A, the B ended, I believe it ended down here, and we have a C, right? And the reason for this is because that move didn't continue. As I explained to you earlier, it did not continue. So what I'm expected to think now that an impulsive move up is going to start off looking like this. Well, that shit broke, right? It's a blow off top. Oh, your idea was fantastic, Michael. Yeah, I made profit, but you suck, bro. Like I don't consider myself to be thinking that I'm good. I just think shit. That I'm glad I got out of that alive. Like without losing money, because you don't want to lose money. Protect your capital, that type of thing. Warren Buffett rules. Rule one, don't lose money. Rule two, don't forget rule one or whatever. Yeah, I think that's critical. You need to remember that and keep on top of that. So basically, we have like what appears to be an A, B, C. Now, if this is a D, which you know it it could be, right? This is a good thing, right? This is a very good thing. This looks like it's going to turn into a setup. Now, like I said before, I hope it makes a new high. So then I don't think it's the beginning of a downturn, because well, you can't be, because you just produced a zigzag that broke the high. Great. But then you also have two zigzag either side. So sorry, on the left. So it's like A, B, C, D, E. See, when you break highs and lows, they give you clues sometimes. Not always, but when you look at the waves in this particular way, they do give you some kind of clue. So I'm starting to see the formation of an A, B, C, D, then we need an E wave, right? And if that E wave goes not even all the way down to the bottom of C and then bounces and breaks the high, wow, that's the trade entry right there. The smaller it is, the better it will be to get into, the easier it will be to get into, and the less risk that you have to pile into it. That's the key, right? That's why I love the waves, because they usually tend to give you a small risk entry, because it's like the balancing forces, right? It's like swing, 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 right? Can you see what's happening here? It's kind of like a triangle, right? But I don't like the term triangle, because people tend to think that A, B, C, D, E only happen in triangles. They don't. See, that's the fallacy of Elliott wave and the triangle bullshit. Oh, it's an A, B, C, D, E, but then you can have an expanded internal correction, so it makes it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like J, Y, X, Y, Z. Like, stop it with that shit, man. It's stupid. Like, I understand a correction can expand, but you you're just being ridiculous, right? There's an easier way to count that, and that's the whole reason why I do this, right? Because I use it for myself. I created this for me. Just because I share it now, it's because I'm a fucking show off, right? By nature, like I think we all are. Look at Instagram. I don't have one, by the way. But the point is that it's like, like it's like balancing forces. It's like, oh, bear, oh shit, bullishness, oh, bear, but they always happen in these particular waves, right? Three wave, five wave, three wave, five wave. That's it. There's no wizardry, there's no magic. It's just simple observation that has worked every single time for me, and I made a methodology out of it. And it's not anything super fucking fancy. It's not. Elliott wave is fancy shit. I don't like fancy shit. It doesn't work, right? A lot of the times it's just ridiculously expensive, right? Overpriced garbage. And when I say overpriced, I don't mean it costs much to learn it. I mean it costs you money in the long run, right? That's ridiculous. That's the worst kind of expense you want. RS Wave might be a little bit more, especially if you do one-on-one coaching. But the point is that the shit will make you money over the long term, so that price will diminish. Like that will be nothing to you, right? It'll be nothing, right? So yeah, just remember that triangles are not anything relating to Elliott wave. When I talk about them, it's a triangular shape. It's a balancing of forces. But the thing is that the RS wave correction doesn't always take the shape of a triangle, right? It could take many different shapes, right? There are expanded corrections, type one, two. There were just, just standard corrections. Like there's usually just only about three. This is a pretty standard correction. Like it's nothing special. I don't even have a name for this. It's just a correction. But when you start to see it shape and form in this particular manner, you start to look for an E wave break. But if you don't have an E wave yet, you better believe it's coming. And if you think you're going to get in early, forget about it. You get wrecked. I've learned this the hard way. If you try to get into something early before it's, like a ripe fruit, don't pick the fruit before it's ripe. Pick it when it's just the right time, right? It's like taking a trade when it's just the right time, because otherwise you don't know what can happen. Something might go awry and it might not work out the way that you thought. It might go from being a nice little triangle to being something completely different, with a wave E that goes down considerably, right? And you're like, shit, that wasn't a triangle. It's because you never waited for the E wave to stop forming and then wait for a break of the start of it. That's the key. Now, I know I'm going on and on here, but I really needed to explain this to you in case you don't really understand what the hell I'm doing on this channel, right? 8, 9 years of practicing my own methodology. Sometimes I just feel like explaining myself a little bit, because then it helps you understand why I sometimes post some crazy shit. So thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one.